Now let's get the latest on the government response to Hurricane Harvey. Congressman McCaul is chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, and he joins us tonight from the Texas Capitol in Austin. Congressman, welcome. From all of your briefings, how damaging is this storm going to be to your state of Texas? How dangerous?
I think it has intensified over the last 24 hours. One of the more serious events we've seen. I think it really is of historic proportions to the extent that it's a Category 3. But most importantly, Chris, it will stop and be stationary and hover over the state of Texas on the coastline and be in tropical storm conditions until Tuesday. And what that means is that we'll have 20 to 30 inches of rain, and in some places double that number. This flooding and unprecedented rainfall is the most concerning, because that is the biggest threat to loss of lives. And I think the #1 priority here is to save lives from being lost in this flooding, which we know is going to take place.
Congressman, do you have any concerns about the state and local response to this storm ahead of it, especially the decision by the officials in Corpus Christi not to order a mandatory evacuation?
Well, I think initially when it was a tropical storm, there was some reluctance. I know when the emergency manager, who I just met with, told them it's a Category 3, they took that seriously. They have started to evacuate. My strong warning is to evacuate if your emergency manager is called to do so, and to put your life over your property. In some cases, that may be too late because the storm has already hit the coast of Texas. But I can tell you that Texas has weathered these storms many times in the past. We have one of the best emergency response operations, I think, in the country, and I know that they will do a great job in this.
Let's take a look at the federal level. As we've been pointing out, this is the first test of President Trump and his team in dealing with a natural disaster of this scope. Are you satisfied that the feds are ready for this?
Yeah, I talked to the FEMA representative in Texas leading the operation. FEMA has already pre-positioned assets near the impacted areas. This is a real change from Katrina and Rita. I introduced the bill to reform FEMA, to change what happened after Katrina, to make sure that FEMA is on the ground in advance, coordinating with state and locals, and pre-positioning these important assets that will save lives, both food, water, fuel tankers as they evacuate off these major interstates. So I feel very confident. What I'm concerned about, again, is the amount of rainfall is really unprecedented in the state of Texas, and maybe all across the country, when you're looking at up to maybe 50 inches of rain falling in these impacted areas.
You know, as we see the map on the right-hand side of the screen now, along that Gulf Coast edge of Texas, there are a lot of oil platforms, there are oil refineries. What kind of damage could this storm do to our energy infrastructure in that part of the country?
Well, you know, Corpus has quite a large petrochemical refinery industry. The Houston shipping channel, some models have this hurricane ricocheting off of Corpus and hitting the Houston area. I think the worst case scenario here is if this hurricane hits some of these petrochemical operations that, quite frankly, Chris, provide a third of the nation's energy supply. It is the biggest critical infrastructure in the state of Texas. We want to make sure this hurricane does not disable those operations.
You know, we're focusing on Texas, which is going to feel the brunt of this hurricane, but there are some models that show the storm at some point, if not at hurricane forces, headed up the coast towards Louisiana. What about the danger to New Orleans, which even before this was already having problems with its water pumping facilities?
Well, that's correct. The third model is that it will ricochet off north of Corpus and then go to Louisiana. So we're concerned about these three different models. I talked to the Red Cross coordinator. They are going to be pre-positioned in Louisiana as well as FEMA. And we have to take that model seriously as well. I think when we get the latest update At 10 o'clock, we're going to have a better idea what's going to happen with the storm system. But in any event, Louisiana will receive significant rainfall as well as Texas.
Congressman McCaul, I want to thank you, and as I say goodbye, I just want to point out and re-emphasize what you said, which is to folks along that coast, if you can get out, get out. This storm is, according to all the forecasts, getting worse, getting more dangerous. Take it seriously. Congressman, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.